Welcome back to the Investing Talk podcast. Today, we're going to take a look at Allurion Technologies,
Okay.
ticker symbol ALUR.
Mm.
And this is a company that's been making some serious waves in the weight management world. And its stock has been on a wild ride lately. So
Yeah.
just to give you a little snapshot, it opened at $3.06, shot up to $11.50, and then closed at $8.69 on January 24th, 2025.
Wow.
That's a gain of over 134% in
Yeah.
just one day. So are you ready to kind of unpack what's driving this roller coaster?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty remarkable to see that kind of jump. What's interesting to me is it seems like it's not built on hype, but on some real tangible achievements that are grabbing the attention of investors.
Right, it's not just some random spike. So let's break it down. First, we've got the AUDACITY trial
Right.
for their weight loss balloon. And the results were really impressive, but what do they tell us about the product?
Well, the Audacity trial, I think, is really crucial because it provides that clinical validation for Allurion's approach. 58% of the participants lost over 5% of their body weight, which is a pretty significant amount. But even more impressive, I think, is the low rate of serious adverse events, only 3.1%. So this is a potential game changer when we think about intragastric balloons, especially compared to some of the side effects we see with other weight loss procedures. It suggests that Allurion's balloon is both effective and safe.
Okay, so we've got positive clinical data,
Yep.
but Allurion also secured a new U.S. patent for their next-generation weight loss device. And it's valid until July 2039. They're already sitting on an impressive portfolio of 20 U.S. and 59 global patents. Can you help our listener understand why this is such a big deal for a medical device company,
Yeah.
especially from an investment standpoint?
Yeah, so patents are absolutely critical in this industry. They're like a legal moat protecting Allurion's innovations, giving them a competitive edge. Think of it this way. For the length of the patent, they basically have a monopoly on those specific technologies. That kind of exclusivity translates into huge potential for profit, which of course is very attractive to investors looking for long-term growth.
Makes sense. So we've got solid clinical results, we've got a strong patent portfolio, but then there's this $7.4 million direct stock offering priced at $6 per share. How should our listener interpret this move?
So while a stock offering can sometimes be seen as olerous, a dilution of value for existing shareholders, in Allurion's case, it's likely being perceived as a strategic move to kind of fuel further growth. They're putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak, demonstrating confidence in their own future. And that can be very reassuring to investors.
Okay, so here's where things get a little puzzling. We have Allurion's stock soaring, yet they reported a revenue decline to $53.47 million in 2023. That's down from $64.21 million in 2022. And on top of that, they posted a net loss of $78.91 million, which is a 94.1% increase from the previous year. So how can we reconcile this apparent contradiction? Positive momentum in the market alongside, less than stellar financials.
Yeah, so this is where it's important to differentiate between short-term performance and long-term potential. Investors are looking beyond Allurion's current financials and focusing on future prospects. Think of it like a startup. A startup may initially operate at a loss while it invests in research and development and market expansion. Those upfront costs are necessary to build a foundation for future profitability.
So they're essentially betting on the company's growth trajectory.
Exactly. And it seems like Wall Street agrees with this assessment. Analysts have given Allurion a strong buy rating, with a projected price target of $75. That's over 1,900% upside.
Wow, those are some seriously bullish projections. What's driving that level of optimism?
Well, analysts are looking at Allurion's first mover advantage. In a rapidly expanding market, obesity rates are rising globally. And Allurion is well positioned to capitalize on that trend. With their swallowable gastric balloon, it's a much less invasive and more patient-friendly alternative to traditional weight loss procedures, like bariatric surgery.
Right, it's a game changer in terms of accessibility and patient experience. But Allurion isn't just about the device itself. They've also developed this digital therapeutic platform.
Right, and that's a crucial element of their strategy. It's not just about providing a device, it's about creating an entire ecosystem to support patients throughout their weight loss journey. The platform offers personalized support, coaching, and tracking tools to help patients achieve long-term success.
So they're combining cutting-edge technology with a holistic approach to weight management. And that seems to be resonating with investors. But let's not forget the broader market context. We've seen an overall positive trend in the stock market lately, with the S&P 500 hitting highs, and there's even talk of potential interest rate cuts. How might this be playing into Allurion's success story?
It's definitely a factor. When the overall market is doing well, investors tend to be more willing to take risks. On growth stocks like Allurion, they're looking for companies with the potential to outperform the market. And Allurion, with its recent string of positive developments, definitely fits the bill.
It sounds like Allurion is riding this wave of positive sentiment, both within the company and in the broader market. But of course, no investment is without risk. What are some of the key investment considerations our listeners should keep in mind when evaluating Allurion?
Well, let's start with the long-term potential. Allurion is operating in a massive and growing market, and their innovative technology combined with a strong patent portfolio. And positive clinical data puts them in a really good spot to capture a significant share of that market. However, we also need to acknowledge the short-term volatility. ALUR is a stock that can swing wildly in a single day, as we've already seen.
So it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Day traders might find some opportunities there to profit from those swings. But it definitely requires careful monitoring and a solid understanding of technical analysis. But I think regardless of your investment strategy, doing your own research is absolutely paramount. You need to consider factors like upcoming clinical trials, potential FDA approvals for new products, competition in the weight management space, and of course the overall market trends. This is not a set it and forget it investment. It requires staying informed, and adapting your strategy is needed.
Exactly. And don't just rely on headlines or anecdotal information. Dig into Allurion's investor relations website. Explore reports from independent research firms like Morningstar. And consider both the positive and negative perspectives that you'll find in financial news articles.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground already. We've looked at Allurion Technologies, ticker symbol ALUR, and its incredible stock surge, fueled by impressive trial results, a new patent, and a strategic capital raise. We've also unpacked their financials, discussed the bullish analyst outlook, and highlighted some of the potential risks of a volatile stock. But now I want to kind of turn it over to you, the listener. If you were an investor, would Allurion's potential outweigh the risks? What factors would you consider most heavily? Remember, this is just a snapshot in time. Allurion's story is still unfolding, and it will be fascinating to see what happens next.
Yeah, it's a classic example, I think, of how investor enthusiasm can really be driven by, a company's potential to disrupt an industry, even when they're faced with some financial challenges.
And speaking of disrupting an industry, let's dig a little deeper into Allurion's digital therapeutic platform. It's more than just an app, right?
Oh, absolutely. Allurion's platform is designed to provide that comprehensive support for patients throughout their entire weight loss journey. It includes things like personalized meal plans, activity tracking, and even virtual coaching sessions. So it's really about building healthy habits, providing ongoing motivation, not just a quick fix.
So it's almost like having a virtual weight loss coach in your pocket.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I think this kind of holistic approach is a key differentiator for Allurion. It's not just about the device. It's about creating this comprehensive ecosystem to empower patients and help them achieve sustainable results.
Okay, so we've highlighted the potential, but now let's address the elephant in the room. That net loss of $78.91 million, it's a significant number.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our listeners are wondering how to interpret it.
Right, well, it's important to remember that Allurion is still in a growth phase, and they're investing heavily in research and development, marketing, and expanding into new markets. These investments are essential to fuel future growth, but they do impact current profitability.
So it's a classic case of spending money to make money.
Exactly. And as Allurion scales up its operations and gains more market share, those investments are expected to pay off in the long run.
Now, let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What are some potential risks or headwinds that our listeners should be aware of when considering Allurion?
Well, competition is always a factor in any industry, and the weight management market is no exception. Allurion faces competition from some pretty established players with deeper pockets and a broader product portfolio, so they'll need to continue innovating and differentiating themselves to stay ahead.
That's a valid point. And even with a strong patent portfolio, there's always the risk of patent challenges or infringement lawsuits, which can be costly and time-consuming.
Right. And we can't forget about the regulatory landscape. The medical device industry is heavily regulated, and obtaining approvals for new products or expanding into new markets can be a really lengthy and complex process.
So there are definitely some regulatory hurdles to navigate. And of course, we have to acknowledge the inherent volatility of the stock market itself. ALUR has already shown us that its stock price can swing dramatically in response to news and market sentiment.
Exactly. It's a reminder that any investment in a growth stock like this carries a certain level of risk.
So what advice would you give to our listener who's intrigued by Allurion, but also wants to approach this investment strategically?
I think first and foremost, do your research. Don't just rely on headlines or the opinions of others. Dig into Allurion's investor relations website, read analyst reports from reputable firms, and explore both the positive and negative perspectives that you'll find in financial news articles.
Solid advice. Knowledge is power, especially in the world of investing.
Absolutely. And remember, diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially with the stock as volatile as ALUR. Spread your risk across different asset classes, industries, and companies.
And if our listeners working with a financial advisor, this would be a great time to tap into their expertise. They could provide personalized guidance and help assess how Allurion fits into an overall investment strategy.
Absolutely. A financial advisor can be an invaluable resource, especially when you're navigating those complex investment decisions.
So we've talked about Allurion's potential, the risks involved,
Yeah.
and the importance of a strategic approach. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the broader market context. We mentioned potential interest rate cuts earlier, and I'm sure our listeners are curious about how this could impact the stock market.
Yeah, interest rates are a key driver
Yeah.
of market sentiment, and any changes can have a ripple effect across various sectors.
Okay, so let's break it down for our listener. Why are there even talks of interest rate cuts right now?
Well, we've been in a period of rising interest rates. As the Federal Reserve has tried to combat inflation, higher interest rates make it more expensive for businesses to borrow money, which can slow down economic growth.
So if interest rates are cut, it becomes cheaper to borrow, which could stimulate the economy.
Exactly. Lower interest rates can encourage businesses to invest and expand, and they can also make it more attractive for consumers to take out loans for things like cars and houses. This increased spending can boost economic growth.
But as with any economic policy, there are always two sides to the coin. What are some potential downsides to cutting interest rates?
One of the biggest concerns is that it could reignite inflation. If the economy heats up too quickly, we could see prices start to rise again, eroding the purchasing power of consumers, and potentially leading to another cycle of interest rate hikes. It's a delicate balancing act for the Federal Reserve. They want to support economic growth, but they also need to keep inflation in check.
So it's not as simple as just cutting rates and hoping for the best. There are complex factors to consider.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important for investors to stay informed and understand the potential implications of interest rate changes, because it can influence their investment decisions and their overall portfolio strategy.
That's a great point. It's all about understanding the interconnectedness of the market and how various factors can influence stock performance.
Precisely. And while we can analyze trends and make predictions, the market is ultimately unpredictable. That's why it's crucial to have a well-defined investment strategy, manage risk effectively, and stay adaptable to changing conditions.
Solid advice. So as we wrap up our discussion on Allurion Technologies, what key takeaways should our listener keep in mind?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that Allurion is a company with significant potential. In a rapidly growing market, they have innovative technology, a strong patent portfolio, and positive clinical data. But they also face some challenges, including competition, regulatory hurdles, and the need to improve their financial performance.
And as always, investors need to do their own research, weigh the risks and rewards, and make decisions that align with their own financial goals and risk tolerance.
Exactly. And remember, the stock market is a dynamic and ever-changing environment. What looks like a sure thing today could be a risky bet tomorrow. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and never stop learning.
Well said. So to recap, we've explored the exciting world of Allurion Technologies, ticker symbol ALUR, and their remarkable stock surge. We've analyzed their innovative approach to weight management, their impressive patent portfolio, and the factors driving both optimism and caution among investors. We've also discussed the broader market context, including the potential impact of interest rate changes on the investment landscape. But now I want to turn it back over to you, the listener. What stood out to you the most in our conversation? What are your thoughts on Allurion Technologies? As a potential investment opportunity, we'd love to hear your perspective. It's been a really fascinating discussion, and I hope our listeners are feeling a lot more informed about Allurion Technologies and all the factors that are driving their recent success. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, which is Allurion's aggressive expansion into new markets.
Yeah, that's definitely a key part of their growth strategy. They're not just content with, dominating the existing market. They really want to kind of expand the market itself. They've received regulatory approval in several new countries recently, which opens up some huge opportunities for growth.
So it's not just about gaining market share. It's about creating new markets altogether. And with their strong patent portfolio, they have a significant competitive edge. As they kind of enter these new territories, it's like they're planting their flag and saying, we're here to stay.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. They're not just riding the wave, they're actively shaping it.
That's a really exciting prospect for investors who are looking for companies with that global vision and the ambition to disrupt the status quo. But of course, with any ambitious growth strategy, there are always challenges to overcome. What are some of the potential hurdles that Allurion might face as they expand internationally?
I think navigating different regulatory landscapes is a big one. What works in one country might not fly in another. And obtaining those approvals for new products or marketing campaigns can be a really complex process, so they'll need to be adaptable and strategic.
Right, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
What about cultural differences?
Yeah.
Weight management perceptions and practices can vary significantly across different cultures.
Absolutely. Allurion will need to be sensitive to those nuances and tailor their messaging and approach accordingly. What resonates with consumers in one culture might not have the same impact in another.
So it's not just about translating marketing materials. It's about understanding the cultural context and adapting their strategy to fit that local market.
Exactly. And building trust with consumers in new markets is critical. They'll need to establish their credibility and demonstrate that their products and services are safe and effective and culturally relevant.
It sounds like Allurion has their work cut out for them. But they also seem to have the vision and the technology and the drive to succeed on a global scale. It's going to be really fascinating to watch their journey unfold.
I agree. It's definitely a compelling story of innovation, ambition, and the pursuit of global impact.
And that's what makes the world of investing so captivating. It's about more than just numbers and charts. It's about understanding these companies, their leaders, their strategies, and their potential to make a real difference in the world.
Well said. And it's also a reminder that investing is a journey, not a destination. It's about continuous learning, adapting to change, and seeking out opportunities that align with your values and your financial goals.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of the Investing Talk podcast. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the specifics of Allurion Technologies and their remarkable stock surge to broader market trends and the importance of a strategic approach to investing. I want to thank our expert for joining us today and sharing all these great insights and analysis. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this discussion informative and thought-provoking.
My pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Investing Talk podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, please share it with your friends and fellow investors. We always appreciate your support. And be sure to leave us a comment with your thoughts on Allurion Technologies or any other investing topics you'd like us to cover. We love hearing from you. Until next time, happy investing.